OhMyGo everyone, and nice to see you here. So today I have a special treat for you because I believe this game that we are about to witness is really epic. And it was played between ParuBaru, Balogh and Artem in the PandaNet team qualification. And yeah, probably you know these players. Artem is one of the strongest Europeans of all time. ParuBaru, I believe also, because he was one of the few people that were able to beat the Korean insays coming here 10 years ago, like Choseok-bin, etc. But what I feel about ParuBaru is that maybe he's not the strongest European right now, because he may misread a little bit, which is important part, but I think he's the best playing European, with the best style, and very interesting games, and very deep understanding of the game, as you will see in this game, and that's why I picked it. So let's get to it. So Pal is black and Artem is white, and we will have to stop immediately in this first corner. So far this is quite a common joseki, this is a modern move, and after this Atari, this block has been popular in the past month. I think I have seen some games with this block on d2. So now what is common is to cut here. And white will connect, black will capture the stone, and then this is a big move, but it's not necessary to play immediately, you can just play tenuki. Yeah, it's fine. But this way, if black plays like this, which feels very natural, you still kind of put a chain around your leg that will slow you down in the future, because you will have to deal with the ladder breaker at some point. So instead, ParuBaru played a different move, which I have never seen. So if you are following modern games, like pro games a lot, tell me if this move exists or not, but Pal pushed here. So this is pushing from behind, which usually is considered bad style, but when I saw this move, I felt like, this is better than cutting, because it has a very good feeling about it, like you are postponing on how you are going to exploit these weaknesses. For instance, white could connect here to kind of, you won't cut me anymore, but then this is Jsem for black. White has to jump and black will live. And now this connection feels very slow, right? It feels like it should have been this extension here. And if you would connect, then you would be squeezed quite a lot in this area, and still this guy is too slow. So white basically has to extend. And then black plays this beautiful reducing move. So I think, for instance, if I was playing this game, I could consider this push, and then I would think maybe then I play here. But at this point the variations are really abstract, and I would feel like, am I really doing something useful? Like, he's ahead of me, it's hard to use this kind of cutting points, and I would probably discard this variation. But the truth is, this is very difficult to solve for white and not for black. So what can you do in this situation? So somehow you have to deal with the corner, so you could either just take, or you could attach here and try to fix the corner more actively. Or, if you are crazy enough, you can maybe play this block, which looks like a vital point. So if you just play at A, black will cut and play here. Actually, this d9 move is the key of this joseki. So at this point, white can play tenuki if he wants. And later, it's quite big for black to add another move here. Even though it doesn't capture the stones, the squeeze is then very nice for black, so white will probably not run away with them. So this is about even variation. White got Jsem and black has big continuation. But still, black accomplished what he wanted, he built a strong wall, right? So, what is interesting here, that Katago in this spot, and also this modern type of thinking that we should learn, is like, dude, you don't have to connect this. Just play tenuki immediately, and if black takes, you can just, build a bigger corner, and actually the territory on the left side is not so big, and this wall has nothing to attack, these guys are quite small. Well, interesting, I would never think of that. But, okay, so this is A. Or, you can play at B. But then black will block, and what do you do now? Like, basically, you can, for instance, play here, but still you feel like you need to come back and black will squeeze you again, so it's not clear if it's a good exchange. Maybe the fighting spirit would be to cut, and black would have the option of either playing like this, and it's perfectly okay for black, or he can even fight in this way, which is quite crazy. It leads to a call, but black has has a lot of liberties. It seems like it's overplay. So probably this is also not the best move. So you can play here, but then black will block, and it seems like these white stones now are captured, because if you play here, bam, 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 you can cut, but you cannot capture here. The best you can do is some kind of squeeze, but yeah, white will die. So it's not terrible because black didn't capture that much and white squeezed, but still it's like about 4 points better for black. So it turns out probably the best move in this situation, or how I understand it, is after this simply capture here and allow yourself to be squeezed. Artem played this attachment. So in the game, black made the life a bit easier for white because he cut here first, demonstrating that he doesn't play any shenanigans with these two black stones. Then he blocked, and then played the key move as we spoke about. White pushed to destroy the shape, and now he has some choices of what to do. Artem decided just to cover and protect these three. He could have considered playing this cut. Black would extend, and then these stones are not captured anymore, so you can cut here if you consider this being bigger. Allow this squeeze, and black captures this in a ladder, which I feel would be kind of moral victory for white, because originally black didn't want to capture the stone in the ladder, that's why he pushed. So would ParuBaru still like not capture in ladder? I'm not sure, I think he would capture it. So I think this is interesting idea, this cut. But white played here, and black has to protect somewhere, and he decided to protect here, which is probably the bigger cutting point, and white cut. So already this game has very interesting variation in it, but this is not at all the masterpiece why we are watching this. So Pal played honey, white attached, and in theory black could just chill and play this move, connect, and it's quite hard for white to find a move here, like how to continue. Like for instance, if you close this corner, then black can always extend here, play this Atari and squeeze these stones. So it seems like making a living group in this area will not be so difficult. But Pal decided to play the vital point and try to squeeze white straight away, saying, I'm not really afraid of this cut, which is possible. So white connected, black played the strong honey, white jumped. Okay, this was an exchange, and black approached this corner to kind of leave. White played Keima, attachment feels all very natural. And this connection also makes sense because by putting pressure on the white stones, you are kind of protecting yourself. But white gets to play this vital point first, which threatens to divide black here or do some dirty business, so black should respond. So now, if you are 7 done plus, you can try to find the best move here, the blue move in Katago, which is super difficult to find, I think. What happened in the game is that black attached, white descended, black then pushed, white cut, and it continued somehow. And adding this exchange makes sense for black because it's really protecting this area a little bit, right? But it feels like this descent is quite like clean shape. So if, in theory, if you're a super strong player, you could have seen that the key move here was the attachment on B11. Because white cannot really extend, which would be normally the punishing sequence, because you have this Atari, puff, and these don't have enough liberties, so you just disconnect these stones. So white would have to probably pull back, and it's true that white can still, for instance, take these stones, same as with the descent, but now this exchange is quite good for black, right, the endgame, etc. So this would be like a little masterpiece, but still, in this way, it's completely playable, and now white cut here. And what I think happened is that Artem misread here. Perhaps I'm not understanding something, but after this Atari, black didn't just simply build the bottom and let white live. Instead, he pushed here, and Artem cut and then clamped, so it seems like these exchanges are minus, to me at least. And Katago agrees, like now black is ahead by about 10 points, I think. So it's a bit strange. Instead of this cut, it would make sense for white just to play here, black would play this, and then it's quite thinner here, right? If you compare it to the game, which is like this, it looks quite proper for black. But it's not quite, it's not so important, so we can move on. Black protected this weak point, so he doesn't lose the 2 stones. White kind of linked his stones, it looks like a big move, and black added this, which makes this group live for like 100% alive. In retrospect, maybe I shouldn't say 100%, but 99.9% alive. And later, in endgame, you still have this quite sweet wedge, which allows you to capture these 2 stones. Okay, so black is ahead by 10 now, after this pushing sequence. And the game will get interesting, because white doesn't want to just lose, right? So he invades close to black's wall. In theory, black could just answer here, capture these 2 stones, become super thick in the center, and this is how Katago would play. But ParuBaru wanted to put pressure on white, and which leads to the fact that white can now exploit these stones a little bit and jump. And now comes a very interesting sequence. So you can think how you would play now. I think 99% of people watching would do something along the lines of jumping here. The problem with this line is that it will not be very difficult for white to settle here, because either you can play this very strong Atari, and this group is still not super alive, so you need to take care of it, and white will just somehow manage. And then it's a fight between these groups, but arguably white is way weaker than black, so this is how Katago would play. But you can see that white will settle quite easily. So what Pal played is this Hane. Then white played bamboo. And then only black pushed, white Hane on the head, and black Hane. So this is quite interesting technique, because after white's cut, the 4 stones are captured. So we kind of went from the situation where we have super strong center to a situation where white captured the center. And what did we gain? Well, some territory on the bottom. But this attachment is a very nice sacrifice tesuji. So white had to connect and black had to extend, and it feels quite clean. So when we were watching this game, we thought that for sure this should be bad for black. But since he was so ahead before, he lost only about 5 points with this. And now it's like 5 points better for black according to Katago. But I consider this thinking a masterpiece, because you could think this is the last time you hear of these 4 stones, but it's not true at all. So next, the pressure is still on white. So white played this wonderful move. It's second best move in Katago. I think it considered this side to be a bit bigger, but still very good feeling from Artem to find this. And now, how do you answer this move? So the feeling I think we could have is that we have a wall here. We already sacrificed these 4 guys for this territory, so we are somehow going to keep it. But fixating yourself so much is never good in Go. But it takes strength to give up this territory. So for sure you could, for instance, just extend, and then white will play this. Maybe you are afraid of playing this Atari, and you lose the corner, and this is over-concentrated, and it's terrible for black, this kind of playing. Maybe you can be braver and play this Atari, but still white will just live in the corner, and even if you take this, I mean, you build the box, but it's quite a small box. Okay, so it makes sense to kind of protect the corner and put more pressure on white, so you play from above. White extends, and now again there is this dilemma. So you feel like you should play here. This is what the feeling says. But then this honey is quite annoying, because if you do, then white either links with his stone, or he will steal a lot of territory. So it's a tough decision. Maybe you could play here. White will just live. But later, he may get this endgame. It's still annoying. Or you can go for some cuts now, but then you lose center. So yeah, in this difficult decision, Pal plays the best move again and just blocks. And white plays here. And now, should you divide this stone? Or should you block here? So blocking here kind of gives up on all of this territory for center and a wall. And that's what Pal did, and again it's the right move and it's quite epic. So this move from Artem, which actually looks like it's not really getting used, like using this stone, managed to link with it, so it's very nice sequence. But black made all of the right decision just by letting white link and getting the center. One interesting thing here is that this last move from black was a mistake. This Q3, it should be jump on Q2. So in general, especially when you are a strong player, you know this Q2 is very often a bad move, because later when white lives here, this kind of peep can be very annoying, especially if white approaches, you know, then this will happen and it's a liability. But in this case, because this connection is 100% center for white, on white's group, I mean, it means that basically this peeping idea for white is not possible at all. And in the game, at almost any point, white can exchange this honey for this block, and it's a slight advantage. So it's just something interesting. But yeah, so black had to reach very deep into his Zen mode to play like this, and got center to reduce the top side. It's very big and he's still ahead. So white played in the middle, played here, black played this Tesuji. You can play this move. Like usually you would play this Kosumi because you would be afraid of this, but it's not really working in this case, so you can do it. White blocked his territory and connected. And now comes the almost final masterpiece. So where would you play? Okay, so first black pushed here, I forgot. But then something I'm pretty sure he has been planning since this move. Black just extended and continues to exploit white's middle shape. So if white plays Tenuki, black will squeeze these guys as citron or lemon, as ParuBaru says. And you can see that finally this capture, white has to spend really a lot of stones, and some of them don't look quite efficient. So black would still be ahead like this. So instead, Artem answered, which is reasonable, but black played here. White still protected, and black peeped. So he gained some strength here, and he's using this strength to attack the stones on the right side, which he can do also because of this wall here and the center move he got there. So, quite the technique. White starts to take care of his stones, and black pushes through. White tries to make some base, and now black extends here. And I'm sorry, ParuBaru, but I consider this move as maybe a quite big mistake, because it's a very shapy move. It's like if you are playing a teaching game, you would extend here because you don't want your opponent to hane on the head of two stones. But I think in this case it would be much better to play this descent, because it still allows you to it's a very valuable move by itself, and it allows you to later destroy the eyes of white. So, and also, moreover, if white plays this hane, you can just play this bamboo joint, And you protected your corner and white is still dying, and you gained a lot here. So I think this would be better. Because after this extension, black still added a move here. So this got smaller, and the eye shape got bigger. And also, this clamp was answered passively. And suddenly this group lived without problems, and the gain from the attack is not so huge. Actually, Kachanovskyi says black could still descend, and it would be a crazy, complicated fight where apparently white would die, but I understand black doesn't want to get into this. Also, some kind of tesujis here, it's very, very difficult to read. But I believe this fight would be very okay if black had the descent here. So this descent would have also protected all of these shenanigans, or it would end as shown here. So because black answered so passively, suddenly the game is about even, and the fight continues. So after that, I assume players had big time problems, because the following fight, there are some mistakes, and already here there were some, so maybe they were in Bioyomi quite early, and you play with Canadian Bioyomi in this Pandanet match. So it can happen that you have like 15 stones for 1 minute. Now black has to live here. And I think since it was played so fast, it's not really worth analyzing it. Basically, black can live and white could keep this territory, it would be close game, or after black enters the territory here, if he lives, now he would win big, and black could have lived if at this point he would just play this Atari and capture, he would be fine. Unfortunately, black made this unnecessary exchange, probably to gain time, and lost the eye here. So suddenly it's a problem. The variation is still complicated, but it seems like it's not working for black. But what is interesting is that I thought that after, this squeezing and this squeezing, these guys will not play a role at all in this game. But if you look at how it all ended up, white couldn't connect to this Atari. So even though black died here, these stones finally ended up dying, and these guys lived, which is quite epic. Unfortunately, this death is too big, and now white is ahead by like 20, I think. So ParuBaru resigned after some misread on the left. But still, I think this was really a masterclass on how to think, starting from this shapy push, continuing with this, then this cut, this hane, then this extension. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game a lot. I haven't spoken about Artem in this game so much. Of course, he played a solid game and he won it, so he was probably the better player, but the style points go for black in this one. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this commentary, and see you some other time. Bye bye!